welcome to a video on multiple alleles and co-dominance. These are two separate things, but I've put them into one video because they have quite a few similarities and they can overlap. So, when looking at multiple alleles, these are characteristics of which there are 3 or more alleles in the population's gene pool. So, for example, I'm going to be talking about human blood groups. So there are four different kinds of blood groups, and the blood groups are going to be the phenotypes. So the phenotypes can be blood group A, B, AB, or O. So they're the 4 different, and these are all what we're calling the phenotypes. They're the actual characteristics. And there are different possible genotypes for each of these, because and what we're gonna represent these because the gene for the blood group is represented by the letter I, but then we show the allele as like a hyphen, so like to the power of A, which is how we show multiple alleles and alleles that are co-dominant. So for blood group A, we can have IA, that's one genotype, or we can have IA, IO, and that's because both groups A and group B are dominant over group O. So I'll just show you here. So group B could be IB, IB, or it could be IB, IO. Because these, the IB is dominant over IO, so although we have got the IO allele here, it's not going to be expressed. It's almost like it's heterozygous, okay? So this is dominant. But I've included this in 2 videos, as you can see here, blood group AB. And that is represented by the genotype IA, IB. Because these 2 are co-dominant. They're both expressed in the phenotype in the blood group AB. So there's not that one's dominant over the other, they're both expressed. And blood group O would be IO, IO. There'd be no other possible genotype for that characteristic. But we say that it's multiple alleles because we've got lots of different, we've got 3 different alleles that contribute to this characteristic. There are some other examples, for example, coat colour in rabbits. We've got for example, we've got albino rabbits, chinchilla, Himalayan, agouti. The agouti one is dominant over all of them. Chinchilla is dominant over Himalayan, and albino is recessive to all other ones. So we can see how these multiple alleles can show dominance over other alleles, even though they're all representing the same characteristic. I'm just going to do another example for co-dominance as well. So co-dominance is where both alleles present in the genotype of a heterozygous individual contribute to the individual's phenotype. So that's what we've seen here. But we can also see it in animals, so in cows. We can see that the gene for the coat colour has 2 alleles. Coat colour being C. Then we can have CR for red coat colour, and then we can have CW for a white coat colour. And cattle that are homozygous for the red coat colour, which would be CRCR, they've got a red coat. And similarly, cattle homozygous for the white coat colour, that would be CWCW. They're going to have a white coat. That's going to be their phenotype. But if we're looking at heterozygous cattle, which would be CRCW, they have both red and white hairs. So they're called roan. It's just showing that it's both red and white. So it's not that they've got just one or just the other. They're showing both characteristics. And if roan cattle are mated, then the offspring will show all 3 phenotypes in the ratio 1 to 2 to 1. And I'll show that in a Punnett square. So if we've got both roan, then we know that their genotype is this, and we know that the gametes are going to be, got a CW and a CR, CW, CR. So we can do this, so we know that this offspring would be white because it's homozygous. This one would be roan because we've got both red and white colours in the coat colour because we've got the co-dominant alleles there. And this one would be the same, roan. And this one would be red because it's homozygous for the red coat colour. So we can see that we've got I'll write this here, 1 white, 2 roan and 1 red, and that's how that ratio is established there. And then this can be shown in other examples, but that's the only one I'm going to go into here. So it's important to remember that these are 2 separate things. This is when 2 characteristics are shown together. This is when there are multiple alleles for one particular characteristic. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be shown together, but like in this example, it can do. Thank you for watching.